Okay, this is going to be a little different kind of video than I normally make. I love Apex Legends, and I also love iceberg videos. So naturally, I went looking for an Apex iceberg, but many of them were old and outdated, so I figured I'll just make my own. I'm sure you know how a iceberg works. I'm just going to cut the rest of the intro crap and let's get into it. Apex is in the Titanfall universe. This is regarded as very common knowledge, and the developers have talked about it many times. Some connections are the weapons and the abilities. Some weapons like the Volt and Car come straight from Titanfall 2, while others like the R99 and the G7 Scout are iterations of the R97 and the G2 respectively. ALGS. ALGS is the pro league of Apex Legends where the best players compete to win a cash prize. ALGS is an acronym and actually stands for Apex Legends Global Series, which is why some people refer to it as the Global Series. LGBTQ plus legends. Apex Legends has a very diverse cast of legends. It's pretty well known that many characters fall into the LGBTQ plus community. As of Season 21, these legends include Bangalore, who is lesbian, Fuse is pansexual, Valkyrie is lesbian, Alter is asexual, Bloodhound is non-binary, Seer is pansexual, Gibraltar is gay, Loba is bisexual, and Catalyst is trans. Mirage may or may not be LGBT, as in the lore he has stated he has a standing in quicksand sexuality, which hints to him questioning, so I'm not too sure about him. Surprise release. Apex Legends, surprisingly enough, released randomly on February 4th, 2019. There's not a single trailer or teaser released before the game was. The only thing we knew was a leaked image of King's Canyon, but this was referred to as a Titanfall Battle Royale and posted in the Titanfall subreddit. Personally, I'm surprised the game captured an audience so well without building hype. Destroyer 2009. Destroyer 2009 was recently at the forefront of Apex news as he hacked into pro players' games during ALGS. This was meant to expose how bad the security of Apex Legends really is, and many people were afraid to open the game after this as they believed they could also be hacked. Since this event, Destroyer has not been seen again in Apex. Original Revenant. Revenant was the fourth legend to be added into Apex back in Season 4. His tactical was a Silence Orb, which cancelled abilities, and his ultimate was a Death Totem, in which after you died, you'd respawn back at. His passive was similar, but it did not let you climb nearly as high as you can today. He was regarded as pretty weak, but would eventually become meta in Season 8, as the Revtane meta would take over. After nerfs to both him and Octane, Revenant would be widely stated as the worst legend in all of Apex. In Season 18, he gained new abilities and has become not only a better legend, but in many cases a must-pick for higher level play. April Fool's events. The Apex team likes to play jokes each year for April Fools. These events usually include something with the Mozambique, as when the game launched, it was immediately named a meme weapon as it was not very good. Some examples are the gold Mozambique that had 9 bullets and did insane damage. The different Mozambiques, like the Mozambeam and the Mozamber, and the most recent, which used the different guns, such as the Mozamber, but also gave bullets knockback, so you could fly by shooting the ground. Nessies. The Nessies are a fun Easter egg that originated in Titanfall and was carried over to Apex Legends. They are hidden around many of the maps and are a fan favorite addition. One of the most well-known Nessies is the giant one on King's Canyon, where you have to shoot a bunch of Nessies in the correct order, and a giant Nessie would be in the water off the map. The Season 12 leak. This entry refers to the enormous leak that took place during Season 12. This showed off many used and unused legend and weapon concepts, many of which have been changed dramatically by now or scrapped entirely. Some of the big things included were Newcastle, Vantage, and Catalyst for legend releases. There were also many weapons leaked, but none of them to this day have made it into the game except for the Nemesis. Data mining. Data mining is something that is common in many games and refers to people going through the data of a game to try and find either unreleased or scrapped content that may still have remnants in the game files. This is extremely common in Apex as people are always trying to find out info before it's released publicly. Voice lines. This entry refers to the many strange voice lines in the game. Some of these lines are the victim of the community being stupid, and others because of poor integration. The most infamous is Ash's voice line, "She's going to gloat about this all day," in which on release for some reason there was a moan before that. This is quickly removed. The other one is Vantage's echolocation joke, played a little too often when using her tactical, and the developers removed it entirely shortly after Vantage's release.
Shit.
Echo's location. Echolocation.
Shut up!
Source engine. Some people may not know that Apex Legends is built on the Source engine. Yes, the same Source engine as Team Fortress 2 and Half-Life. Heavily modified, but down to the core, it's still Source. This has caused some problems with things like cross-progression and the tick rate of the servers, but the devs claim to still use it because they can't remake the feel of Apex that is so important to its success on another engine. Default Valk is not canon. In Apex lore and cinematics, the legends are always seen in their default skin, as that is what the devs have deemed their canon appearances. The only exception to this rule has been Valkyrie, as her birthright skin is the one used in lore. While it isn't the same exact skin that's seen in-game, she still wears Viper's helmet, like she does on the birthright skin. OG Reactive Flatline Recolor. Last season during Breakout, Apex introduced the Breakout Challenges, in which the reward was a recolor of the Season 4 Reactive Flatline skin. This skin is highly sought after because of its major improvement to the stock iron sights on the Flatline. This is not the first time there was a recolor for the Flatline though. A while back, there was a leaked collection event for ALGS to help fund. There were many skins that were recolored and had team logos on them. The reward for this event was a red recolor of the Reactive Flatline that is today seen in the exotic shop. Fuse could have said the C word. Back when Fuse was introduced into the Apex games in Season 8, some people wanted Fuse to be able to say a certain C word that's commonly used in Australia. Surprisingly, the game rating system in all countries except for the United States would have allowed this and keep the game at their equivalent of a T rating. Despite this, since the US didn't agree with it, as the word is extremely offensive in American culture, Fuse was not allowed to say it. Bloodhound was a pilot for Titanfall. Bloodhound was originally a pilot planned to be in the Titanfall series, but for unknown reasons they were cut. When Respawn started working on Apex Legends, they went back and used Bloodhound in the early builds, and they eventually would become the legend we all know them as today. This is also the reason Bloodhound had such a high quality model in the beta as opposed to Wraith or Gibraltar. Bloodhound and Fuse. While we're on the topic of Bloodhound, they seem to have some kind of story being developed with Fuse sometime after his release. This would eventually lead to the two of them having more and more increasingly flirty voice lines with each other as seasons progressed. The developers finally decided to make it canon with a Twitter comic they released, Hop-Ups. This entry refers to how Hop-Ups have changed throughout Apex's history. The main point I want to bring up that I haven't seen anyone else talk about is the fact that purple Hop-Ups just don't exist anymore. This is most likely due to meta shifts, but it does make it harder to find certain Hop-Ups when you need them, as they are all legendary tier now. Caustic and Crypto are foster brothers. In the lore, it is revealed that Caustic's birth mother's name is Mystic. We also know that Crypto was adopted, and Mystic is his foster mother. This can be further seen when inspecting Crypto's heirloom when he pulls out a picture of him, Mystic, and his sister Mila. This would make them foster brothers. Mirage and the Pumpkin. Okay, this is a bit of a weird entry. Basically, it was confirmed that there was one night where Mirage got very drunk and made love to a pumpkin. This is one of the craziest and funniest stories in Apex lore, and it kind of makes me wonder what the lore of the game would be like if it was rated M instead of T. Octane is addicted to Stim. Stim is Octane's tactical ability, and everyone knows it takes some of your health every time you use it. While in-game this is meant for balancing, this is meant to show that it does have a negative effect on Octane's body and lore. If you look at his player model, you will also notice he carries a portable dialysis machine on his waist to help filter excess Stim out of his blood so he doesn't die from it. Save Titanfall. About 3 years ago, there were serious issues in the Titanfall 2 community that had been going on for a pretty long time, this being DDoS attacks. These attacks would make the servers crash sometimes before they could even start and effectively killing the game. Respawn had shown no sign of wanting to help remedy the issue, and that's when a hacker tried to make a statement. They hacked into Apex Legends and blocked everyone from entering any game mode with the hashtag #SaveTitanfall in place of the current map. To make it worse, this was done on July 4th when all of the workers were enjoying time off with their families. They were unfairly under fire for not fixing the issues right away. Respawn only listens to pros. This topic is still one I'm unsure about as a casual player. Respawn obviously wants to keep their game alive and healthy, but sometimes they make changes for high-level play that negatively affects the casual experience. There's of course the infamous gold knockdown shield, which used to have the self-revive perk. This was heavily praised in the casual scene, but criticized in the pro league as it could lead to unfair ring endings with people getting to stay alive with all 3 teammates down. This ability was removed in Season 14, but funny enough brought back in Season 20 with the legend perk system for Lifeline in a stronger state than when it left. The balance changes can harm the casual experience as they seem to only cater to pro players. AI-generated art. Back during the Final Fantasy milestone event, Apex Legends released a trailer to promote it. In this trailer, there were a few shots of art that most people just looked over originally. After some further analyzing, some people made the claim that the art was AI-generated. I think it 100% was, and I think they still use it to this day because some of their skins just kind of have that look, but I'm not too sure. Fade and Rhapsody. Apex Legends Mobile was a pretty cool game, and it truly felt like it brought the Apex experience to mobile phones, crappy monetization practices and all. There were 2 exclusive Legends that were released during the run of the game, being Fade and Rhapsody. Many people hoped that they would someday be introduced into main Apex as they had some very interesting abilities, especially Fade. But with the game shutting down less than a year of being up, and them still not bringing in either Legend after so much time, it seems like they will not bring them into the games. Where did the Rev Army go? Last year we had the Kill Code cinematic story, meant to add some lore to Revenant's new abilities. At the end of it, Revenant gained control over an entire army of his spare bodies and used them to attack legends in a pretty fun LTM. However, shortly after this lore event, it's never explained what happened to the Rev Army or where they could have went. Some people think they probably just forgot about it and don't care enough to fix the plot hole. Octane's parachute. Okay, this is a bit of a funny one, but it isn't talked about very often. There was a discussion about a scrapped bio for Octane in which it told the story of when he was around 4 years old. He sewed a bunch of condoms together into a parachute and jumped out of a window with it. Funny enough, it worked and he was not injured. I don't know why this isn't brought up because I think pretty funny story. Forge didn't fool data miners. Forge was a huge hoax made by the Apex team to try and deter leakers from finding out the new legends early. He was rumored for Season 4, and the devs went as far as to put decoy code into Apex so that data miners would find that and think Forge was the next legend. He had melee abilities and was pretty reminiscent of Doomfist from Overwatch. Many people believe that this worked and leakers were tricked. That is sadly not the case. A few days before the reveal that Revenant would be the new legend, code was found for the leaked legend Nomad, who had become Revenant. This was publicized and sadly ruined the shock for a lot of people. They have not tried something like this again, but who knows if they will in the future. Revenant Cult. There isn't much to this, as it's only briefly mentioned in the Pathfinder storybook, but Revenant mentions something about a cult in the 2560s. He brings it up after finding out Pathfinder was following him, and stated it was similar to the cult. This has never to my knowledge been brought up again, but it could in the future if we get another lore book. Eduardo Silva wasn't killed by Revenant. At the end of the Kill Code story, who we know as Eduardo Silva was killed by a Revenant clone. There was even a funeral held for him as Eduardo, which we saw in a Season 19 lore comic. Despite this, we knew that this was actually Torres Silva, Octane's grandfather, and not his father. He was using Stim to keep himself alive, but I'm not sure if it's the same Stim as Octane. Either way, he had everyone fooled in universe, but as players, we knew who he really was. Seer was a filler legend. In Season 10, Seer was released into the game and was forever known as the most brain-dead OP legend on release. He even made Launch Horizon look balanced. Seer was not originally planned for Apex though, as he is the only confirmed filler legend to this day. This was speculated after he got a very short lore cinematic and then was confirmed by the devs. I can only assume they needed more time with Ashe, as she was the next legend to release, so they just threw Seer together and called it a day. Hypermist and Osvaldator. Okay, this last one is a bit controversial. Hypermist and Osvaldator are two of the most well-known leakers in the Apex space. However, both of them have been confirmed to be extremely racist people. This was first brought to my attention recently from a video by jthefrog, which will be linked. They have never seen any form of repercussion, and the person who leaked this info originally, Kral Rindo, has since left social media permanently. These people should not be a part of the community. That's the end of the iceberg. I've never made one of these videos before, so hopefully it turned out okay. This is my first time making a scripted video in years, so sorry if my script writing isn't up to par. And again, if you want to see jthefrog's video about Hypermist and Osvaldator, it should be in the description. So